Well, what up, what up, what up? This is RJ Fantasy Football talking. We're back again for another episode. I'm going to need you to like that button, hit that button for us. Go ahead and subscribe to the page. Um, what's going on,
Hey,
man?
nothing much going around this end. It's been a pretty productive 2 weeks. Fun stuff going on at work, but I'm pretty sure you want to tell about your story. It's been a lot more interesting than mine.
Oh, yeah, I had a rough Saturday last week, man. We didn't really do too much, but I slept and relaxed because it was bad Saturday. Well, other than that, it's good. I'm glad to be back on back on this thing, man. Trying to talk some football, man, because it's getting close,
Yeah,
baby. The itch is there.
yeah, it looks like they getting ready to go. There's still been the normal. Well, I guess I don't can't really call it normal, can you?
No,
There's
man.
been a lot
No.
of COVID spikes going around, but I think the NFL they're determined to get it going. Baseball even this week put their schedule out, so
Yeah.
the NBA is ready. Baseball says they're ready, so we'll at least see those two things before it's time for NFL to go live with their
Yeah.
season. So it looks like it's gonna happen. So,
Well, I read today that they saying fans will actually be there. They're gonna rope
right.
off or top off the first six seats around the
Uh huh.
stadium. Um, and they're gonna use it for like advertisement and stuff like that. But they saying fans gonna be in the stand,
Yeah.
which is pretty wild to me. I'm not gonna take that risk. I thought
Yeah.
about it, but I don't know about that. I think it's a little too crazy out here now.
Yeah. I
So
can't. But
um, I
I
can't
only
do it.
go to a few games like ever. Anyway, in fact, it's been years since I've been to an NFL game, so I'll be from the comfort and security of my couch anyway. So
Definitely. Hey, me too. I ain't complaining. I normally go to one every year, but I thought about going to the West Coast this year to go
yeah,
see San Francisco. But nah, I think I'm gonna pass
yeah.
on that because I think it's a little
Not
crazy
this
now.
year, but I
So no.
told you what we got to do is RJ Fantasy Football Talk Vegas edition. We're gonna go see the Raiders out there.
I don't know why you want to go see the
Hey,
Raiders. I mean, we could do
yeah,
preseason because we
of
do play
course,
y'all in the
yeah,
preseason, so it could work
yeah.
out that way. So
No,
let's
not
see.
this year, of course, but yeah, we got to put that on the thing. Yeah,
Oh, definitely, definitely. We're gonna work that out one day. But we got a good show for y'all today. We talking tight ends. And obviously everybody know who tier one is. Is the great best tight end in the league,
Travis Kelsey.
George Kittles. No. Oh gosh, here we go.
uh,
George Kittle is the best tight end in the league. Obviously, we all know that. And then we got somebody named Kelsey. Some guy named
some guy who
Kelsey.
won a
I think
Super
that's his
Bowl
name.
last.
I mean, some guy
Some
named
guy named
Kelsey. I
Kelsey.
guess.
Yes.
Yeah, some
We've
guy
had this
named Travis
argument.
Kelsey.
Geez, I don't even know how far back this goes. But the truth is, these two guys are not even real tight ends. They're wide receivers. So
Pretty much.
if you get them, you have a solid tight end. That's why they're in the tier by themselves because there's nobody like these two guys. Travis Kelsey last year had 1,229 yards. There was, I think, just three wide receivers who had more yards than he did. And Kittle would have been there if he hadn't been hurt. He missed 2 games, and he still almost he was over 10. He was over 1,050. So give him two
Yeah.
more games, he would have been in that same kind of bracket. So they're
I mean, Kittles went over year before that. Kittles went over
right.
1,300
So
yards and like 7 touchdowns, close to 100 receptions. So I mean, these two guys, you can't go wrong. I mean, if you get them, I say go
you
early.
have to,
Normally, I
right?
draft my tight end, especially second, third round. Depends on how your quarterbacks are situated in your leagues. If you're in the one, I normally go Kittles right after
Uh huh.
that. If I'm in the two, I normally go Kittles round around the third round. But you can't go wrong with them. I mean, they're gonna give you production
Right.
every week. It's like a receiver, pretty much. So you can't go wrong.
Now we
Um,
knew neither one of us play in them, but they have what are called tight end premium leagues, where
mhm.
this for those that don't know, these are where you get bonus points for tight end reception. Like if a wide receiver gets let's say a point for a reception, your tight end to get 1.5. They'll boost it for yards sometimes as well. So basically, tight end premium says exactly what it is. And so if you're in one of those type of leagues, these two are going to give you monster numbers. As well as when we get down to the lower tiers, we're going to talk about a lot of tight ends today. So if you're in the tight end premium league, that those last ones are being a little bit more, because somebody might be saying, well, I only need one tight end anyway. That used to be a strategy, actually, where people would just draft one tight end and then you get somebody off waivers. I don't know if that's true anymore, especially not this year. Not even just tight end premium.
I don't
just
think so.
Overall, I think that's a bad idea. What do you?
I don't think so. I think, me personally, I like two
Right.
tight ends. I mean, because if you play in a league where you have a flex spot that you can run a second tight end, I mean, obviously you're not going to be able to get George Kittle and Travis Kelce, but if you can get either one
Right.
of them, now if you get both of them, you're doing something
If you
actually
do
right.
both of them, your
Somebody doing
league is
something wrong
messed
in your
up.
league. Exactly. So, but if you can get one of
Right.
them and add another one of these tier 2, tier 3 tight ends to
Yeah.
put in the mix, I think you probably can go two tight end set pretty much the
Yeah.
whole season. Because I used to do
Yeah,
it. I do it a
some leagues
lot
is
myself.
it's that's really good. It helps for you for bye weeks, and it'll also help you when you get to situations where wide receivers can be iffy. If you have two solid tight ends, like you said, you get a tier 1 and a tier 2 guy, you might get better production than you would get from putting a wide receiver in a flex
Hey,
spot. So
I
yeah,
agree with you because I don't know if you remember back then when they had
and
Hernandez and
oh
they had
yes,
Grunt and people used to pair both of them tight ends up at the same time.
yes,
I had a friend of mine's, actually my brother, he used to pair Grunt and Hernandez. And he used to get both of them back to back and put them both in the
uh huh.
lineup. And that's when the
That's
Patriots ran
yeah,
that two
that's
tight end
dangerous
set.
right there.
Oh yeah, I mean he won some championships like that.
Yeah.
So I mean honestly, I think that's a good route to go. If you can grab them, I mean do what you got to do. Speaking of tier 2
All
tight
right.
ends, we're gonna move on to our tier 2, and we have Zach Ertz, Mark Andrews, Darren Waller, Evan Ingram. Out of this group, I think the most person I like out of this group is Waller.
Yeah,
I love Waller. I mean, Waller had a
phenomenal.
crazy year last year. Man, he had 90 receptions, 1145. I mean, the touchdowns was down, but I think that can come up a little bit more. But when you add in those receptions and those yards, and he had over 100 targets, I mean, you can't go wrong with him. Now, if you can compare him with a George Kittle or Kelsey, oh man, you're in perfect
Yeah.
shape. I mean, come on now. So, how you
Well,
feel? Who you like
well,
out of
I'm
this
a Raider
list?
fan, so Waller's big for me. He was I think, a bit of a surprise with how well he was last year. He's definitely a person who could potentially jump into that tier 1 list. But is he my favorite on this list? I think so. But based off last year, Mark Andrews is that guy. He was very
Okay.
touchdown driven. He had 10 touchdowns. I see we have, hold up for a second, Jasper and Olina on the show watching, so just want to say hello to y'all. And of course, I see my
Hello,
wife
hello,
saying
hello.
"Go Kelsey," but y'all might have heard her yell a few seconds ago. She's from Kansas City, so she loves him. But getting back, Mark Andrews, he was a potential uh, tier 1 guy. Also, I don't know whether I believe it because he was so touchdown dependent. He had 10 touchdowns, like I said. Our guys, Kelsey and Kittle, only had 5, so he doubled their production, which is what made him a fantasy football stud. If you believe that for next year, I think Lamar Jackson probably gets more to his wide receivers this year, so I think those touchdown numbers go down. Not disappearing, but instead of 10, you might see him go back to earth to like 5, 6 touchdowns. So
I mean, I agree with you. But the only thing that sticks out for me when it comes to him is he had 6 games
right,
last year where he did not score in double digits as far as
right,
PPR leagues. Um, to me, I still keep him in his category, but that kind of scares me
yeah,
a little bit because if he can go 6 games without scoring in double digits, and then if you're saying his product as far as touchdowns is going to go down, the question is, does he slide out of this tier 2? because I have seen a lot of places where he's a
Yeah,
tier
I
one.
think I can
Um,
understand him being tier one. I don't think he slides out if he doesn't get the touchdown because he still had 852 yards. So that's
okay,
pretty impressive for a tight end by
true.
itself. So you have that in
Okay,
like let's say anywhere between 5 and 7 touchdowns. I think that's still qualified. That's probably enough to get in a tier one ranking again, maybe. But he's
okay.
not Kittle, he's not Kelsey, but he's the next best thing likely.
I mean, I kind of get it, but I just feel like he had way less targets
Yeah,
than Kittle's and Kelsey. Even with Ertz had 88 targets.
yeah,
Waller had 90.
right.
Ingram missed a lot of time, so that's why he's right there at 44 receptions. But the thing is, at 64 receptions, and
Yeah,
you play 15
yeah.
games,
That's
I feel like though that's not enough for
mm-hmm.
me. But I mean, if you come, we agreed that he
Right,
was a two. I don't agree that he's a
right.
one, like most people are saying. The targets are not there
Yeah,
for me
he doesn't have enough
enough.
targets. I agree with you there. But the exception to that I say is if those targets are in the red zone the majority of the time, you might let it slide a little bit more. But
Okay,
yeah,
I give you that. I mean, but still, that six
yeah.
games
That's it.
with no double digit points, it
Like I
stands
said,
out enough for me to
it's that
say,
10 touchdowns
no.
is astronomical. So I get it. Another guy that's some people are probably surprised we don't have in our tier one group, Zach Ertz. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I like Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz was the only receiver that Philly had
yeah,
last year. Because no other receiver on Philly went over 500 yards
uh-huh.
last year. We discussed that before. But he had 88 targets. Well, he had 88
Yeah,
receptions. He had over 100 targets. And he had 916 yards and six touchdowns. The only problem I have is he has a second tight
right.
end with him there that could cause issues with him getting more targets. Because I think if he would have got, because that other tight end got, which we're going to talk about later, he had a bunch of targets.
Yeah,
He got over 50 receptions last year. So that takes away from Ertz, but I think Ertz still gets
right.
his. But I kind of feel that's why he's not a tier one for me. He's a tier two. So that's how I feel about it. How you feel
Oh,
about it?
I'm with you 100% of the way. I had Dallas Goddard, the other tight end for Philly last year, and he put up impressive tight end numbers by himself. So,
Yes,
and
he did.
what benefited Ertz, I guess, is like you said, there aren't really any where there weren't really any wide receivers. They semi addressed it, I think, this year. Uh,
Hmm.
so you might see their targets and receptions go down, but I think Ertz is right where he needs to be for us tier two. Um,
Through 8 games, which wasn't bad. I mean, if you add that up for 16 games, he
yeah,
pretty much he did solid
when he
numbers
produced, right?
as a tier two
Like
tight end. Yeah,
we
but he
always
just got to stay healthy.
we
I mean,
always
that's
look
his
at
biggest thing.
your average points per game, and this is all pro football reference.com. They have a PPR ranking. And so if you look at that, Evan Ingram averaged over 14 and a half points per game that he played. But like you
Hmm.
said, if you don't get the per game is nice, but you actually need those games for fantasy football. That 14
To
thing
be
would
in the
have had
game.
him ranked in like the top two tiers. It's below Kelsey and Kittle, but that 14 to get you up there with guys per game. To get you with guys like Mark Andrews that'll have you matching guys like Zach Ertz. So Evan Ingram is definitely that dude when healthy. Like you said, it's just uh, if he's going to be healthy. But then with Daniel
It's
Jones having more experience, I think Evan Ingram's a really good play for fantasy football this year. No.
Oh, definitely. I mean, if you can grab him, I mean, anybody in this tier right here is worth picking up. As your even if you can't get a, obviously it's going to be hard to get a. You're gonna have to either reach for George Kittle and a Kelsey to try to get those early two tight ends, but like those guys are serviceable as your number one tight end. They could work for you. Ingram just got to stay healthy. Waller is going to
Mm-hmm.
have his opportunities, and like we say, Ertz and Andrews definitely they're going to get all the opportunities
Yeah.
they can get all they want. So I think at the end of the day, you can't go wrong with none of these first six tight ends.
Now,
I mean, I'll
before we
take
go
any
into
one of
tier
them
three,
at
let
this
me ask
point.
you a question. Tier one, you said you
Okay.
get early in some, depending on the league, maybe even as early as the first round or a second for Kittle and Kelsey. When do you make a move for these tier two guys?
Yeah. Um. So if you're going, just say for instance, like in a two quarterback league, most times your two quarterbacks can go first. You probably grab a Kittles or a Kelsey around the third rounds. I'm thinking more of seven, maybe
Hmm.
7 or 8, because you still got to fill in the rest of your roster with your receivers, running backs, and that type of thing, especially in a two quarterback league. And normally you'll grab a quarterback around about 6.
For
So
a
I'm
two
thinking about
quarterback.
7 or 8
Okay.
because you're going to need to fill, yeah, for a two quarterback. And then for a one, you might can go a little bit early, around about 6, maybe 5 or 6 to kind of grab your second tight end. But if you can get two tight ends, like we talked about earlier, you being at the end of the day, you have a backup that's can still win you games when your other one is on a bad week or if they get
Right.
hurt. So, or you can roll with two tight ends. So either way, I think both
Okay.
about 5 or 6 round. I think about the fifth or sixth round,
Yeah.
maybe in like a one quarterback league.
All right.
So we're gonna move on to your tier three tight ends, which this gets really interesting for me,
Right.
because you got Cook, you got Henry, you got Higsby, you got Hurst, you got Hooper, Font, and Gronkowski. Um,
Gronk makes a return to the NFL.
man, I don't know. Gronk, when he back in 2018, his stats wasn't that great, and
Right.
he missed 3 games.
Right.
He had 47 receptions, 682, and 3 touchdowns. Um, I don't know. Gronk is a year or two older.
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, I'm a little hesitant to say I would draft a Gronk at this point.
Right.
I mean, it's other ones I would draft ahead of him, and I know a lot of people are high on that offense this year, but I think he's more of a name at this point, sort of.
Uh huh. No,
Um,
I'm with you.
I, I mean, honestly, if I'm thinking about that group, Jared Cook, Austin Hooper, I mean, I'll take a couple of those guys before I take him. I
Yeah.
mean, and that's just me, but everybody's different. So I don't know. How you feel about that?
Let me call out Tamara Fallon with her husband Rod. Rodney, you came in too late. We already talked Travis Kelsey. Uh, so just know he was in our tier one. Thanks for joining the show, though. I'm with you. The only thing positive I have for Gronkowski is he's going to instantly have that connection with Tom Brady because they played
That's true.
together so many years. But from a talent standpoint, I don't know if I think he's the best tight end on that league, in that on that team. I mean, and
Yeah.
I'm very concerned about his health because he wasn't staying healthy before he retired. Now he took a year
Yes.
off and came back. My thoughts is if you go Gronkowski, don't get too fancy and go early. Like we talked about when you would draft Kelsey and Kittles. Some
Yeah.
people might try to don't do that. It's not the Gronk
No.
from before. So I would wait
Mm-mm.
for him, and if I drafted him, I'm gonna make sure I get another really good. If he's gonna be your first tight end, you better follow up, maybe even the next round after you draft him with your backup tight end because I seriously doubt you're going to be able to depend on him for an entire season. So on this list, if I have to my choice, I want to say it'd be Jared Cook would be the guy I pick off this list because
Okay.
much like Mark Andrews,
Hmm.
he was very touchdown dependent. He had 9 touchdowns last year. That's phenomenal. I don't know if I believe in that this year because they picked up Emmanuel Sanders, who I think is going to take some
Yes.
targets away from him.
Such is way.
And so
Hmm.
I think after that, I would say Hooper, but he's with a different team. Uh,
Yeah.
I guess I should like Hayden Hurst because if he's taking Austin Hooper's spot, I guess he should have similar production.
I feel like he's gonna pick up where Austin Hooper
Right.
left off. I'm predicting 80 receptions.
Yeah.
He may get 100 targets this year, but I think he's going to get about 80 receptions
Yeah.
in the normal 700 to 800 yards that Hooper
Right.
would have in
Yeah.
that offense.
Austin Hooper
So
almost had
because
100 targets just playing 13 games. So you would think
yeah,
that would still apply.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I would think so. I think because they let Austin Hooper go and picked him up because they knew Austin Hooper wanted too much
Right.
money, which I don't think he's worth the money he got
Right.
personally.
Right.
But that's
I
just my
especially
personal
don't think
opinion.
he's worth that money in Cleveland. They already have so many
Now,
mouths to feed there, and it's like, what?
and
Yeah,
they got a tight end there already. They got one. Like I don't understand. I did
yeah.
not
I didn't get
understand
that
the
move
whole
at all.
logic behind that.
Right.
So I mean, but my favorite out of this list is Hunter Henry. So
Yes, yes.
I like
We
Hunter
we
Henry.
we've had a lot of
Um,
lively discussions about him, so I'll let you make your case.
yes. Well, Hunter Henry, when healthy, he missed 4 games last year, but when he came back, he had 55 receptions and 5 touchdowns. And you got to equate that to 16 games. Just
Yeah,
imagine if he would have played the other 4 games, he would have hit 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns. I mean, he would have had close to 100 receptions. You cannot say he's not
no,
a good tight end,
no.
JJ. You
I've
killing
never
me.
said he's not a good tight end. I like Hunter Henry. I just never can trust him to be. He hasn't had a healthy season since he's been in the league because he was supposed to take over and steal the shine from Antonio Gates, and that never happened while they were there because he was always hurt. So they kept dragging the 87-year-old Antonio Gates out there, and he would be production.
Come
So,
on.
but I like Hunter Henry. I'm a big fan of Evan Ingram, who's also always hurt. So I'm gonna go back to that fantasy points per game. And if you
Okay.
look at Hunter Henry, his average is around 12.9. So you're getting almost 30. So it's less than an Evan Ingram, but it's close in a fantasy standpoint. I'm not gonna yell over a point or two. So you're definitely
Yeah,
getting good
exactly.
production from him. I want to welcome Nita to the show. I see you're watching. Thanks again for joining us. Let us know what you think about your tight ends. Who you think are the ones to win your league? We're giving ours. So I like Hunter Henry. I say a lot of bad things about him jokingly just because
Yes, you do. You
more
you
so just
do.
to annoy you.
You said
But I will say I really kind of want to fall in love with Hunter Henry this year just because his quarterback situation is going to be bad. It's going to be Tyrod Taylor or it's going to be a rookie Justin Herbert. So they're going to Tyrod Taylor is a dink and dunker. So that helps Hunter Henry.
yes.
And if Herbert gets the job, he's a rookie. Rookies, young quarterbacks always rely on their
Without the
tight
tight
end.
end.
So Hunter Henry,
Yep.
he's a nice little shiny toy. We have him in tier 3, but I can
I
I
know.
can easily see him being tier 2 this year.
So I want to welcome everybody. Also hit that subscribe button on YouTube, please, for us. So y'all can catch all our shows when we go live. But like I like Higsby.
Uh,
Higsby came on big like the last 4 games last year, like really big to the point where he had over 700 yards and over 60
uh,
receptions. His touchdown number was around 3, but I mean, for a late pickup last year, I think he did really good work for anybody that
uh,
picked him up. And honestly, you can get Higsby late,
yeah.
like really late, because nobody's really thinking about him. But
Like
I
I
think
said,
you can get him
unless they were
late.
following those last 4 or 5 games, Higbee wasn't even supposed to be the starting tight end out there, but he was impressive.
Exactly.
So yeah,
Oh yeah.
I for some reason I wanted to put him higher. At first, I was thinking tier 2, but when I saw that it was only over those last games, I kind of got a little bit hesitant with him. I put up this hit subscribe thing just in case y'all didn't hear Rodney before. So yeah, definitely make sure y'all hit that. We trying to get up to 100 subscribers, and that you
Yes,
can do your
please.
part to help us get there.
Now I have a question for
Uh-huh.
you. Out of this group, who do you think can move up to take somebody's spot in tier 2 out of this tier 3 group?
Let's see. we haven't said his name yet. Uh, a lot of people are big on Noah Fant, and I kind of see it.
Okay.
I don't know if I see
Mm,
tier two production. He has all the same things going for him, where he has a young quarterback, so you know they're going to rely on him. He showed some potential, but not
mhm.
enough of him last year to make me think he's going to make that jump. I want to say Higbee is the most likely guy just off the last 5 games. Uh, but
Okay.
I still think I'll probably go with Hayden Hurst just based off, Austin Hooper's numbers. Um,
Now, can you Hisby can continue to do that
I don't see why not.
over the course of a year?
Um, that offense in Los Angeles is pretty good when they are working on all cylinders. So yeah, there's no reason why he
Okay.
shouldn't. They also are in a situation where they have a lot of mouths to feed with their wide receivers, but I think there's enough to go around. So
Well, I will say this: the loss of Cook, I think that helps him a
hmm
little bit because that takes away from somebody as far as receiving the ball. So I think he can pick up where Cook
right,
kind of had some of his receptions. So I think he could move into a
yeah,
tier two. Um, I really think Henry could move into a tier
he
two
says
as
healthy,
long as he
yeah,
stays healthy. He has to stay healthy. I think, like you said, with Tyrod, he's a dink and dunk. I think Tyrod hurts his receivers more because he doesn't throw the ball down the field. But his tight ends, he
yeah,
loves he loves throwing to the tight end. So I think he can
yeah,
push him there. So I see Hunter
yeah. I
Henry
think that's a
honestly. Jared Cook hurts me a little
yeah.
bit. I don't think he can do that. He's
He's
touchdown
very
dependent for
touchdown
me.
dependent.
So he depends on touchdown too
But
much.
the
So
but the thing you
I
do
mean,
know is
honestly,
because the New Orleans they are going to have a lot of touchdowns, so he might be able to make it. But he's not going to be my first choice. I do want to welcome Cecil Taylor to the show. I see, and Anita Bracey's with us. She says Grunt should have stayed retired. I don't know if I take it that far. He gets more money, so but
yeah.
I think for Tampa Bay, it wasn't the greatest. We'll see what happens with it. I could be wrong, but I doubt it. You can see I'm right
I mean, that's
97% of the
that's a
time.
stick
So
situation. But because they still, to me, they kept all three tight ends, so that tells me that they're a little bit worried that Gronk may get hurt.
right,
So for them to say, well, we're not going to trade our other two tight ends and we're going to keep them because we're afraid Gronk may get hurt. We all know Gronk's going to get hurt. He's going to miss at least 3 or 4 games. That's just what happened.
yeah,
Gronk, he does that. So, I mean, other than that, I feel like this is a good list. I feel like you can get a lot of these guys late, especially Higbee,
yeah,
Cook. A lot of people going to reach for Gronk
yeah. I
just because
think
of the name.
if there's anyone in this
Um,
list that goes earlier than they probably should, I think it's him. Uh, so
yeah, definitely.
we have a comment. Tomorrow Fallen saying good, laughing at good offense. It's the new AFC West. I think the new AFC West is all offense because from the
Yes.
draft alone, that's what everybody was working to improve. So because everybody has to you'll love this, Rodney. Everybody has to compete with the Chiefs, and if you can't score
Oh,
30 points easily, you're not gonna ever beat the Chiefs. So defense, is overrated in that division for now. So. That's it.
I mean, it's an offensive league. I mean, so they're looking
Yeah,
for that next big tight end. Obviously, I mean, because a lot of people want a
yeah,
Kelsey, they want a Gronk, they want a Ertz, but it's hard to find those type of tight ends. They're a dime a dozen. So
right.
I'm sorry, a
Yeah,
diamond in the rough sometimes because Kittle's was a fifth
yeah,
round pick. So you got to think about it. He wasn't a first rounder, so he
yeah.
didn't get glorified his first couple of years. He earned what he got. So just like Kelsey, I don't think Kelsey was a first round pick either. So those
Oh,
guys
yeah,
actually
right.
worked their way up to be the number one tight end in the league like that.
Yeah,
So I mean, Waller wasn't the number one pick. So it's like these guys won't draft it in the first round. They were third, fourth rounders. So teams are looking for those big tight
yeah,
ends that can actually catch. And I mean, and you got to be able to block too. But
Yeah.
if you can catch, that doesn't even matter at this point.
Right.
So, so
The tight
I
end
mean,
position has
it
changed a
will.
lot. Blocking, if you can, but
Yeah, if you
they have
can.
a lot of
I
teams
mean,
have
who
a tight
knows?
end specifically for blocking, and they have another tight end specifically for reception. So
Yeah. I mean, if you can chip block as a tight end, you're gonna start. You ain't even got to
yeah,
worry about that. So chip blocking is the thing now. You don't even got to throw a whole block, so it doesn't even matter.
yeah.
So we can move
Tier
on to
4.
tier 4. We have Jake Doyle, Greg Olson, Hawkinson, Smith,
Mm-hmm.
Jarvin, Rudolph, and Joki, Eric Ebron, and Dallas Gerbach. Is that his name? Did I pronounce that right? I'm sorry.
You talk about Njaku, David Njaku for Cleveland. Yeah,
No, Ijaku.
I had to
And we
practice that one
have
a few times today.
Dallas. Yeah, me too.
I was tempted
Yeah,
just to call
that
him
was. I was
David, but I
like,
was like,
yo.
nah, all right, let's. It's not that hard. I can do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, a lot of this tier 1, man. They have a lot of funny names, man. So I don't know how we ended up with this list like this with a bunch of funny names in tier 4, but um, out of this list,
This
it's a
is
tough list, man. I don't know which one I really like the most out of
well,
this list. I like Eric Ebron going to
yeah, I think
Pittsburgh.
that's a good move for it. Eric Ebron is a guy I've been waiting to be that next big tight end, like a Grunks
Yeah,
or a Kittles, and he hasn't done it yet. This would be his third team, I think, so far. So
yeah,
maybe
yeah.
it works this time. I do like the fact that he's there with Roethlisberger. If Roethlisberger is healthy, um, I think
Mhm.
he has the potential to jump out of this list. The other name I like out of this list um, is it's hard for me to say it just because he plays for the Cowboys, but Blake
Yeah,
Jarwin.
oh,
Blake
Blake Jarwin.
Jarwin has
I
the
love Blake
potential to
Jarwin,
be
man.
that steal. It's hard to call a tight end a steal of the draft, but he has that potential
Yeah,
where he could be the next big thing that nobody's thinking about. Uh, so
that's true.
I like his potential. Yeah,
I like it because he has no Jason Witten now.
right.
Jason Witten actually took a lot of snaps from him last year. Jason Witten, he got
Hmm.
87
I
targets
was going to
last
say
year.
that's
So if
a 60-year-old coming out of retirement. Jason Witten came in and was very productive in that offense. So you would think Jarwin has a big year ahead of him. So yeah,
yeah, and they gave
they
him
gave
they
him some
gave him
good
big
money,
money
right?
too. Not big money, but they gave him good money. Um, I like Jarwin. Jake Doyle when healthy because
Yeah,
he stays hurt too.
yeah.
He's
But Jack
productive,
Doyle,
and they got Phillip
yeah.
Rivers who loves
But I will
throwing
say,
to the
but
tight
Doyle
end.
did play all 16 games last year. Whether he could do it 2 years in a row is
But not
another thing.
the year
And,
before that,
and
though. I
I was
mean,
looking. We might have been a little disrespectful to him. He was a Pro Bowler, but not so much for his fantasy football production. So yeah,
no,
he's one of those
no.
good overall tight ends that can actually block and contribute stuff to your offense. But as fantasy players, we don't care about any of that. Uh, I like Doyle. Go back
Um,
to Goddard that we talked about earlier.
yeah, I was about to say that.
He's another one of those guys who could give you tier 3 production. I don't think any more than that, unless of course Ertz got
No,
hurt or something like that. But yeah, there's some good
yeah,
names in this list.
I think Smith from
Yeah,
Tennessee. I think Smith
yeah.
came on late.
Jordan Smith. He's supposed to be the
From
next big
Tennessee.
thing too. Eh,
Oh yeah, I mean
yeah,
we'll see
right.
though. But I mean
He's
we don't. I mean he got his quarterback Tannehill. I mean he throws to
yeah,
the tight end, but we'll see how Tannehill plays this year. Plus he has no Delaney
yeah,
Walker, so they saying he's going to get the first crack at being the starting
right.
tight end this year. So we definitely going to see Greg Olson. I mean he's Greg Olson.
He's
I
eternal,
mean
right? So
yeah. I mean what do you expect from him in Seattle?
well,
Honestly.
for years, Disley, who's right on the list beside him, is supposed to be the guy, but he's another person who's had injury problems. Uh, I think that's why they brought in Olsen, and they paid him. I think it's around $7 million, roughly. I forget the exact amount of money they
Yeah.
gave Greg Olsen. So they didn't give him that money to sit on the bench. So,
bench, exactly.
but you
So
also have to consider how well Seattle uses their tight ends uh, in their offense. I think either one of them's worth a flyer. Um, I am not going to probably draft Disley or Olsen, honestly. So, but
I
they're
ain't mad at
worth
you at that.
a
So,
drop. Orlando Lewis is saying that Jasper says pay attention to Disley. So I guess my father disagrees with me. I should draft Disley.
yeah.
Let me pull up so because
Um.
Disley only played in 6 games last year, so it's kind of hard to really assess how good he was. But going back to our average, he averaged almost 13 points a game, so he was right there with like Hunter Renfro and the other guys we mentioned earlier. So in theory, Disley is a potential tier 2 guy. But his injury history really prevents me from believing it, and the fact that they brought in Greg Olsen, because they're
Yeah.
not going to run that 2 tight end set like we mentioned earlier. New England was doing, where they're not going to both
Yeah.
be productive players. I don't think, at least not on the same weeks.
Now I got a sneaky one for you. We talked about this, and we both found out at the same time that this player was
Uh
listed
huh.
as a tight end, and never knew
Oh,
it. So,
oh,
Taysom Hill, which
you
is
want me to go to
on
the next one?
the yeah, we're gonna go into the tiers question mark list, which is to me surprising, man. Um, that he actually is considered a tight end in fantasy football.
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of this.
Before we finish, I just want to acknowledge a comment. Anita says that Austin has more left in his tank than Gronkowski does. I believe that only because Austin played
I
last year.
believe
So
that
yeah.
too.
Now get back to Taysom Hill. We just discovered, and I am intrigued. I told you the other day when we talked about it. It's like,
Man,
he wasn't on my radar, but Taysom Hill as a tight end, when you know they're gonna have him as a running back, you know he's gonna be out there as a receiver. You know he could potentially even throw touchdowns. It's one of those
yeah.
those guys that I think I want in on this. So I don't know where to
Well, it's
rank him
funny.
though, because I'm not gonna go second or third round on him. But you might end up with a second tier tight end from him. I don't know how to play it yet. Yeah.
I mean, it's funny because we was on the phone talking, going over our
Right.
list, and we would just happen to just go over it, and we seen him. He was like, Taysom Hill, a tight end, listed as a tight end, because he's listed as a tight end /
Yeah.
quarterback in fantasy. So if you think about that, you can list him. You pretty much can draft tight end and use him as a
Right.
quarterback and get different
If
numbers from
right.
different areas, and it'll be crazy. I don't know, man. I don't know where to rank him. I have no clue.
He
I
is
promise you,
perfect
I
for this
don't. So I
question
don't
mark
know.
tier, because I'm gonna be between now and when we draft in August, trying to figure out exactly what to do with him. Um, huh.
I
I like it though. But
I don't
a
know.
word of warning though for the audience. ESPN has already stated that if at some point in the season Taysom Hill starts as the quarterback, they're going to remove the tight end tag from him, and he'll be a solid quarterback. So I don't think that's, even if Taysom Hill, I can't see a situation of him becoming the starter just because they brought in Jameis. If they didn't bring in Jameis,
Yeah.
that warning might scare me a little bit. Well, actually, that warning would scare me a lot. But
Yeah.
I think Jameis Winston is the security blanket that you probably won't see that happen. So I'm still
Yeah.
gonna stay with my intrigue. Another intriguing thing we talked about, since there's so much about Gronk having nothing in the tank, let's go with Brayton Howard. We have 2 tight ends from the same team in this tier.
That's
And
true.
yeah,
Howard, to me, I think Howard is the best tight end out of that group,
even
personally,
better
for
than
me,
Gronk.
because he's younger. I mean, I would say so. I just think if that was the case, if they didn't feel that way, they would have
Right.
got rid of him, right? And I feel like Gronk, if you keep both tight ends, you telling me that Gronk, you believe Gronk is going to get hurt at some point or he's not going to be there. That's not your long
Right.
term answer. So Howard's really your long term answer. And they paid him a decent amount of money, just like they paid the other tight end a decent amount of money. So they're paying tight ends big money. I mean, I think it's like $30 million between
Yeah,
the three of
they're
them,
putting out a lot.
like for this year.
They,
So I think that's crazy. I mean, Howard's probably they're gonna run a two tight end set probably with Howard and Gronkowski, and I think Howard's gonna benefit from Gronk getting double teamed just based off his name, and I think he ends up being a better tight end
yeah.
out of the bunch.
OJ Howard, we've been waiting for years to make that transition. He's still in development. I don't have faith in him. I don't have faith in Cam. I'm really waiting to hear a trade announced, but I'm with you. They might keep all three because of Gronk's history. If Brait or Howard were on a different team, I think I'd like either one of them. It's hard for me to have faith in OJ Howard just because we haven't seen it. Even last year, Brait was better. Howard missed 2 games, but I'm not seeing. I only like those wide receivers out there in Tampa Bay. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are my attractive.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to buy any of these tight ends because I don't know who I can depend on. I think for the most part, you'll probably see Brait and Howard on the waiver list, and you can always pick it up later as needed. Some people might go for OJ Howard because he is supposed to have a lot of potential, but me personally, I'm not buying in on it until I see it happen.
Okay, let me ask you this. Do you feel like because you know Jameis Winston didn't throw to his tight ends. He wasn't the quarterback. He liked to throw the ball down the field. Now, Brady is a quarterback that likes to throw to his tight ends. Does that benefit OJ Howard this year?
It should.
Okay.
Will it? I don't know. Well, I guess it all depends on how healthy we see Gronkowski. If Gronkowski is healthy, then I don't really have much stock in anyone else other than him.
Okay. I mean, that's fair. I agree with you on that. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I still think OJ Howard, if he can stay healthy, and I think benefit just from having Tom Brady, I think he can have, when it's all said and done, a better year or match the same amount of yards, receptions, touchdowns as a Gronk. So I think he can move up from a tier question mark to at least a tier 3 or 4 at the end of the day.
But speaking of old people like Gronk, Jimmy Graham's on this tier list. He's a guy who was up there with the Gronkowskis and the Kittles and the Kelseys a long time ago. I read that he has a lot to prove. He said he still has a lot in his tank. And I think quote him exactly, said, "Hey, I'm still fast." So I think he's expecting to do some big things in Chicago. Do you believe it's going to happen?
I mean, I think he's the only tight end there. They got rid of the tight end that was there, so he's pretty much their only option. So the only thing that scares me is the quarterback situation. That's the only thing that can really scare me at this point. But I think Graham. I think he wasn't used right in Green Bay. Right. He wasn't used right in Seattle. I think if he's used the way he was used in New Orleans, I think he can be productive. You're still not gonna get the old Graham. You're not gonna get the old Graham, but you're gonna get a good Graham. I mean, but they gotta use him like he was used in New Orleans, pretty much, for him to be successful. So, I mean, I don't know. I doubt it seriously. I mean, he has no competition. Yeah. So he should
think
do
he's
something.
Another guy I leave on the waiver wire, and I'm just going to sit back and watch.
Yeah.
Maybe on this list, Ian Thomas warrants a late round. If you look at what Greg Olsen did last year, there's room for Ian Thomas to make some noise. But
I mean, the thing with that is, Teddy Bridgewater, do you consider him a dink and dunk quarterback?
I don't know what to make of him because he got injured so young in his career. And if I looked at New Orleans last year, I kind of think maybe he is gonna be the dink and dunker.
Do he? Do you feel like he uses his tight ends more than he would use his receivers down the field? I mean, because if that's the
Then
case,
you go,
then you could say Smith
yeah,
could be that guy to get those receptions. But from what I read, they say he's going to be the
yeah,
starting tight end. From
yeah.
what I read,
They seem
so
to like Ian Thomas a
he's going
lot
to get
out
every
there,
chance.
so he's gonna have an opportunity.
I mean, he
Yeah,
wasn't productive,
yeah,
so I don't know. I mean, I
yeah.
doubt it. But I mean, and another one is another one, Mike Gesicki from Miami, who's another one that could be
Right.
a good. He was late. He was
Mm.
good down the stretch to the point where he put up some fairly decent numbers. He got 89 targets. I think that last 5 or 6 games where Miami went on the stretch when they was trying to
Right.
win. So, I mean, he's another one. You could take a fly on him down the line, but a lot of these guys probably going to end up on the waiver wire. Kyle Rudolph, the same thing. Um, Kirk Cousins don't really use his tight ends like that. These guys you probably can pick up on waiver wire when you need one or when somebody get injured for a bad week or something. So that's my take on it. But
Okay.
I don't know what you
No,
think.
I'm with you 100%. At this point, what is that? I think we had 25, 26 tight ends. Most of these guys,
Yeah,
after the third tier, you pick them up late in the draft, so you can drop them at any point. You're not going to be hurt by it. So I'm not putting too
yeah.
much weight on these. Unless you're in
I
one
wouldn't
of
put too
those
much
tight
stock
end
into it.
premium leagues or a league with a flex spot where you can do two tight end set. I wouldn't put a lot of. The only one in this
Yeah.
question mark tier I'm really gonna put some thought in between now and draft day is Taysom Hill because I'm just curious. Yeah,
Yeah, me too. That I mean, because you can use him
yeah,
at so many different. Lord, he plays so much because he get tackles too. He's on the kick return. He's on the punt return team. He's on
right.
the kickoff team. I mean, he does so much. And if you can even plug him in at a tight end position, you can get multiple points from different positions just on
Right.
the fact that he's always in the game and the fact they paid him $21 million on a 2-year deal shows that they're gonna actually write up plays for him. They're gonna make plays for him. He's gonna play different positions. He's like a gadget guy in the
Okay.
sense. So um, that's my take on it. But we got
Yeah.
another category. We
Yeah.
got wide receivers. We're gonna do the
Yeah.
first 2 tiers of wide receivers tonight too. Um, and we're gonna move on to tier 1 of our wide receivers, which this tier is awesome. This is an awesome tier. I mean,
Yeah.
Lord. Michael Thomas, DeAndre Hopkins, Julio Jones, Devontae Adams, Chris Godwin, and Mike Evans. I mean, you can't go wrong
Yeah.
with just nobody in this
My,
group.
we
I
talked
mean,
Christian McCaffrey in our running back show last year, where we talked about you kind of got two players in one. Michael Thomas is that same
oh
thing for wide receivers. I had to look at it a few
that's
times because I was like, these numbers can't be real. When you look at him compared to
man.
every other wide receiver in the league. Hold up for a second. I see we have a comment. Are you tomorrow falling asking, am I serious? I'm wondering, am I serious because I'm talking to Michael Thomas and I don't have. I'm just gonna take a wild guess and say that comment is the fact that
Yes,
Tyreek
say
Hill's not
Tyreek.
in this top tier
Yeah, it's
list.
not.
That's the other thing I can make. But yes, we are 100% serious.
It's serious.
Michael Thomas, getting back to my point, had 1,725 yards. There wasn't even another wide receiver that had 1,400. So
Man.
he's just blew the doors off of the wide receiver stat. It's
It
not
ain't
even
even
close. If you could get him,
It's not even close. It ain't even that. It's the targets. He had 185
yeah,
targets last year, and he got 149
yeah,
receptions. No one came
yeah,
close to that. I mean, honestly, like you say, we could have put him in a
yeah.
class by himself, but we ain't want to do that. So we're not going to be that disrespectful. But you know, you can't go wrong. I mean, Devontae Adams, he had 127 targets and he
Yeah,
missed 4 games. So if he would have played 4 games, just imagine what he would have had if he would have played
exactly.
4 games. And he was like 3 yards short of 1,000, and he missed
Uh
four
huh.
games. I mean, Julio the same way, 157 targets. Hopkins
Do you
150
think? Do,
targets.
do, do,
I
do
mean,
you have any concern about Hopkins moving over to the Cardinals? Do you think that affects his numbers any? No.
no, not even a little bit. I think he gets better numbers. Like, what
Right.
are you talking about? I mean,
Yeah.
Hopkins, he was playing with Deshaun Watson, but he's playing in an offense where it's just run and go. It's shotgun all day long. They don't get in a two running back set at all. They play 4 receivers the whole entire game. What you think he gonna do? I mean,
Right.
come on, man. No, he gonna top what he had last year. I think he might get close to that
Right.
Michael Thomas number
Yeah.
for real. I mean, I'm high on DeAndre
The,
Hopkins. So
yeah, the only thing that might concern is they have a lot of wide receivers out there, and then we think Kenyon Drake's good, but
but not
no
me.
one's like Nuke. So,
Yeah,
I
no one's
guess,
he's B
I
Hop.
guess the
Stop
biggest question in this
it.
then would be we saw tier one production from Mike Evans and Chris Godwin last year. Does that change with Tom Brady there? Are they both going to be capable of maintaining their tier one production?
I say yes because of the fact Jameis Winston threw 31
Uh huh.
interceptions last year. That's 31. He had a total of
Yeah,
35 turnovers
he had a
last
lot.
year. Tom Brady had 35 interceptions in 4 years. So that tells you he gonna get them the
Right.
ball all game. And I think about this. You got even though Gronk is not Gronk anymore, Gronk just off name is gonna draw some type of double team across the middle. What does that do? That leaves Godwin and Mike Evans on the outside to go 1-on-1 with a cornerback. And Godwin on a second
Yeah.
cornerback, oh my God, he's gonna murder a second cornerback.
Oh
Has
yeah.
no chance. They're both gonna top 100
The
receptions this
only
year.
thing that
Easy.
slightly you mentioned Jameis Winston and his interceptions, which were notably a problem. Tom Brady
Okay.
is not the gunslinger that Jameis Winston is. That's what scares you. These two had had the number of yards and targets they had because Jameis Winston is just throwing it. He doesn't even. Maybe because he couldn't see, he didn't get this LASIK surgery until this all season. But Jameis
Okay.
just threw it, and he said, "Look, you guys go get it." I don't know we're gonna see that
Uh
kind of mentality from Tom Brady, which is why I'm like, I
okay.
think that I still, well, obviously they're still in our tier one ranking, so I still like them, but it does make me think
Yeah.
maybe I roll the dice and say instead of going one of the when I get down to Godwin and Evans, I might gamble on one of our tier two wide receivers, particularly the one that Rodney wants us to talk about. He's
Well,
coming.
I'm
Don't
gonna
worry.
give you. I'm gonna ask you
Uh
something.
huh.
I'm gonna ask you something. Do you remember when Tom Brady had Randy
Yeah,
Moss?
I do.
Okay.
Now he has two Randy
You
Mosses
remember
though.
what he did, right?
Can he? But now he has
Huh?
two. He has.
I'm just saying,
Right,
but
I
you
remember.
do remember what he did with a
I don't
Randy
know.
Moss, right?
I
He put up 50
yeah.
touchdowns with a Randy Moss. I mean, and you add a second guy
Who
like
was the
Randy
second? Who
Moss.
was
I
the
ain't
second
saying they
wide
Randy Moss, but
receiver?
what I'm saying
Who was
they're
the
the type
second
of
best wide receiver
receivers
that year? Do you know offhand what their stats were?
on that
Yeah,
team. Not quite offhand. I don't know. I couldn't
right.
tell you honestly. But Randy Moss, I think they broke the touchdown record
I can't
or
remember.
some
Well,
sort like that.
like I said, it's not that I don't think Tom Brady is capable, but is he capable of feeding these two guys the way Jameis Winston did? I'm gonna go out here on the record now and say no, he's not. You're gonna, you're gonna.
Okay. I mean, I'm gonna go on the
Okay.
record and say yes. So we just disagree on that one,
Right.
but that's fine. I'm good with that. Hey, and we're gonna talk tier two
Yeah, we got about 5 minutes. We got
for
about
Rodney, so we can make him happy.
so
We're gonna
there you go,
go.
Rodney. Tyreek Hill. So We recognize that y'all won the Super Bowl, but your number one wide receiver last year was your tight end, and I don't think
Yes.
that's going to change. We mentioned at the top of the show that Kittles is a wide receiver who's just huge. Tyreek Hill was hurt a lot of last year, so that's why he only played 12 games. Had
Yeah.
860 yards, 7 touchdowns, so he was still really productive for the time he was there.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but I don't think Tyreek Hill is going to put up the numbers of that previous group.
I don't. I mean, I think if you look at his numbers, I had him last year in fantasy, and when he did come back,
Yeah,
he
was
was
a monster
productive.
when he
I
played.
think he would have cleared at least 1,300 yards if he would have played those 4 games. But I think the guy that really stands out for me is Kenny Galladay. Matthew Stafford missed 8 games last year. Galladay was averaging about, in our league last year, and I think in the barbershop, he was averaging about 20 to 22 points per game when Matthew Stafford was there. It went down because
they had terrible
they had like 2 or 3 other quarterbacks that were terrible. But the numbers he put up for having those bad quarterbacks was 65 receptions. He had 116 targets for almost 200 yards and 11 touchdowns. So if you add Matthew Stafford back in the equation, I think he clearing 1,400 yards. He's clearing easily 80 receptions. And he might be up there with 120, 130 targets. So I think I'm willing to go Kenny Galladay all day
It bears
long.
repeating that Kenny Galladay had 11 touchdowns, more than any other receiver, with horrible quarterbacks. So put him with a healthy Matt Stafford. I think Galladay is a potential tier 1 guy. We might be sleeping on him a little bit. And yes, Rodney, the Super Bowl champs are the Chiefs, and so that proves whatever point you're trying to make. But I won't say they're underrated because they're the Super Bowl champs. And honestly, I think they have a very good. Rodney's not going to agree. This Rodney over here is not going to agree with me. But I know you, Rodney, in the audience will agree. The Chiefs are my favorite to repeat this year. So I won't go to that controversy since we only have a couple of minutes left on the show. But I'm just saying.
Well, I'm going to say this. I think the Chiefs and the 49ers are the 2 teams that have, with this whole COVID-19 stuff going on and people not being able to practice, I think they're the 2 teams that probably kept their same roster that could possibly be.
I think they both improved.
Even Pat Mahomes said that out of his mouth.
They kept the core, but they added some elements that I think that both of
pieces
those, too. They're still my 2 favorites. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a rematch, and I think the Niners are going to win this time, Rodney. So don't you worry about it. So we're going to definitely take the Super Bowl next year. So, bro, we good. You know, I'm coming for revenge. I'm telling you right now, all day long. But I want all the smoke. So
for those of us who are not. Hold on, I'm laughing because we have another comment from the same guy who says, "Everyone hit subscribe. This man has seen the light." So yes, we urge everyone watching. My wife apparently does as well. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and like the show because we need your support.
Definitely. I mean, I don't know. At the end of the day, man, I think really those are the 2 best teams in the league. If you think about AFC, NFC, I mean, both of them got better. And I mean, we talking about Pat Mahomes. Nobody can deny what Pat Mahomes is at the end of the day. And I'm still gonna rap for my boy Jimmy G. Jimmy G.
All right, Amari Cooper. You said all right. You already received enough hate on Jimmy G when we talk quarterback. So
that's all right. I take all the hate.
I'm gonna move us on to Amari Cooper.
I want it all. Amari Cooper got big money this year. He got a lot of money. Now, I think CeeDee Lamb helps him a whole lot. That's going to take away that double coverage.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, and then also, Blake Godwin may help a little bit. in that. But I think I like Amari Cooper. I think he was fantastic. It's just some games he just fall
I'm gonna
asleep and don't
hate
show
on
up,
Amari Cooper
and that's
because he
the
used to
problem.
play for the Raiders and he left to play for the team I
Okay,
hate the most. Um, Amari Cooper cannot catch the ball consistently. He drops the ball way too much. And like you said, he disappears way too much. He's still a tier 2 guy. He
he
belongs
does.
where he is. However, if we did this at the I think when we're talking in our pilot episodes we did at the end of last year, Amari Cooper was only marginally better when you look at it from a fantasy standpoint than Mike Gallup. And when you add CeeDee Lamb to this mix, I think CeeDee Lamb is going to be an explosive guy off the back. And
Absolutely, man.
so they paid Cooper a lot of money. I guess you could say he's worth the money he's paid, but I think it's only a matter of time before he's the second best wide receiver on that team. And CeeDee Lamb is going to be the guy.
Okay, I mean I give you that, but my biggest surprise that I think that's going to be it really explode is AJ Brown. AJ Brown is a fantastic
Yeah,
receiver out
AJ
of
Brown
Tennessee. He's
was
big,
amazing for a rookie. It's
yeah,
I don't like his quarterback a whole
and
lot, but I like the things they did last year. So Tannehill can surprise me, I guess. So I like him.
uh,
I like,
I love
he's
AJ Brown. He's
huge.
big, man. He's
Yeah,
huge. Like he's really, really big. He's a big receiver, and they throw him the ball
yeah,
55 times a game. I mean,
just
because they have no
exactly.
other receiver out there to even compete for targets. So I think like he's gonna get so much
uh,
opportunities to actually score touchdowns, get yards. I think he's one of the guys I feel like that if he has a really good productive year, he can move to a low end tier 1 receiver just because of the fact that what Derrick Henry's gonna get his, obviously, but they're gonna have to stack the box, 8 in the box
right.
on Derrick Henry. That's gonna leave him
Yeah,
one on
he's.
one with a
I
cornerback
agree.
at 6'4", 6'5". I mean, who's stopping him really?
Yeah,
He's a big boy. I think in Devontae Parker actually did well, which is surprising.
considering
I
that
mean, gosh,
they don't really have a steady quarterback. Devontae Parker had,
quarterback.
yeah, they have quarterbacks. None of you want to rely on,
Exactly.
but you got Fitzmagic and Tua at some point taking over. But Devontae Parker, he's
Yeah,
proven that when he's on the field, he's a force
healthy.
to be dealt with. He put up 1,200 yards last year, 9 touchdowns. Do they have another
Yeah.
wide receiver that you think is going to interfere with his production? I don't.
No,
Um, well, I have
no,
one.
I
I
don't think
have
so.
one wide
I
receiver,
mean,
but I'm not going to talk about him tonight. If you watch our sleeper show, he's going to make a return in the conversation, but not for several tiers. But yeah, I think Devontae Parker is still the guy
yeah.
there. A pair of guys on the same team we have in this tier: Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. They're I
Yes.
guess that can be they're the closest thing to the Chris Godwin Mike Evans combination we discussed earlier about two guys who can both be productive together and both put up huge numbers.
Yeah.
I like Cooper Kupp because we play in more PPR leagues, but it's really not that much more
Yes.
when you look at the receptions between Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. They're both neck and neck for targets, and they're running both neck and neck for receptions. Robert Woods gives you a little bit more in the running game, but if
hmm
you have either one of those, you're going to get some solid production. Do you have a favorite between the two?
I think Cooper. I
Yeah,
think Cooper Cup. Based on if you want to talk touchdowns, I think Cooper gets more
yeah,
touchdowns than Robert Woods, but Robert Woods gets more receptions than a Cooper Cup because a lot Cooper
yeah.
Cup does a lot of damage in maybe 5 or 6 targets a game, and then he'll get a touchdown. But I don't see because, like you say, I think there was
Yeah.
4 receptions,
Robert Woods
uh,
had
a
90
4 reception
and Cooper
difference
Kupp
between the
had
two of them.
94. But Robert Woods had more targets. I
Four.
think
So
he had,
yeah,
5 more targets than Cooper Kupp. So they're
yeah,
neck and neck.
they have
But, yeah,
neck and neck. They have similar
yeah.
numbers. It's
The
crazy. The
touchdowns
only difference
make
is
a
the
big difference,
touchdowns.
right?
Yeah, I mean, but honestly,
Yeah,
I would take a fly
yeah,
on both of them if I was anybody. I mean, if you get those numbers for those two receivers, you can't go wrong with having both of them, honestly. But the chances of getting both of them, I think, are slim because Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp are there, and they have no
yeah,
Brandon Cooks. So I think those targets go up for both of
yeah,
them this year because no Gurley, no Brandon
yeah.
Cooks. I mean,
You,
honestly, you don't know who's going to start at running back. So I
yeah,
think their targets go
between
up
them and between
just a
them and
few big, a
Higby,
few more.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
because we've seen what I can't think of his name right now. Jared Goff. We've seen what Goff can do. He's
Oh,
a
yes.
very consistent quarterback. So I think there's enough to go around. Um,
I mean, Goff did throw for 4,600 yards last year. So I think them getting well over
yeah,
1,300 yards apiece, I don't see, I can see that happening because of the fact he throws for close to 5,000 every year on pretty much on that. So, um, but I think these tier ones, tier twos,
yeah.
early and often, especially tier ones, you got to go early and often. Michael Thomas might go in
Michael
most
Thomas is
leagues that's
going
not
first
quarterback
round in
heavy,
most leagues. Yeah,
first round
maybe in
east.
two, even in some
So
two quarterback leagues. Mike Thomas is that kind of guy. He's going to go because even in a lot of two quarterback leagues, we'll do more of this when we go to our fantasy football 101. But even in some two quarterback leagues, you will see people still lean on skilled players before they get their quarterback. So,
yeah,
and
exactly.
Mike Thomas is one of those exceptions, like Christian McCaffrey we said before, where all other logic goes out the window. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can't go wrong with those two guys, especially Michael Thomas, who's getting close to 200 targets a year. And even with Emmanuel Sanders, I still think
Yeah.
he gets his targets. I think Emmanuel Sanders actually helps him more than anything because that second, they're going to still have to. Emmanuel Sanders is
Right.
still a threat, even at his age. So I think at the end of the day, Michael Thomas probably would get still close to that
Yeah.
200 targets at the
So
end of the day. So I mean, I like it.
okay.
So I'm good with
All right.
that.
Well,
But I appreciate everybody joining us. Really hit that subscribe button. Tell your friends. Tell everybody. Uh, we need 100,000 people. So
yeah.
I appreciate y'all. I appreciate all the
Yeah. I
comments
see.
y'all
Well,
had.
speaking of cover, I see one that
And
just came in. Apparently, Deion Sanders was speaking with my aunt. She says, and she's not feeling Adam Thielen. So let's talk about Adam Thielen a little bit before we go. He is the only wide receiver in
okay.
Minnesota. End of story. There you go.
Yes.
There's Adam Thielen and a bunch of guys you have never heard of before. Well, Stephon Diggs going to Buffalo. Kirk Cousins has no one to throw to. Him and Kyle Rudolph,
Yeah.
that we I think mentioned a little bit earlier. So yeah, Thielen is going to
Yeah.
put up numbers. Thielen kind of concerns me sometimes. He's another one of those PPR beast, if you will. So he's a solid guy.
Yes. Oh
You
my
might
gosh.
be. He's
Yeah.
had years where he wasn't the most healthy, but I don't think that's going to be a problem. Like I said, he's the only guy. That's him and no one else. Yeah,
I mean, because honestly, somebody else got to
yeah,
step up on the other side because he gonna draw double teams. He gonna draw that City over the top. So he's gonna see multiple coverages. So I think he's gonna get force
yeah,
fed a lot personally, because they have nobody else to throw to. Now I'll take a fly on him just because of the
yeah.
fact he's gonna get force fed.
Unless he gets hurt
So
again, because he only played.
he,
I was trying to look it up. 10 games, I think, last year. He didn't play. He didn't play a lot.
yeah, he played 10
So
games.
that's the one concern I have. But yeah, I'm not.
I mean, because he, like you
Yeah,
say, he don't have Diggs on the other side to help out to take away from that coverage. So, I mean, Thielen, I
yeah,
had Thielen last year and the year before that, and he was early
yeah.
on. He was doing
Before he
like
got hurt,
great
he was
before he
good.
got hurt. So, I remember that one year before that, he was like the number one receiver for the first
Yeah,
8 weeks of the league, and then he went down. Like he has games where he might disappear a little bit, but it really depends on
right.
the Minnesota offense because they're run heavy. So if they come out like they did last year and throw just 10 passes, then no, he's not the guy you want to reach for. But I think that changes because I think they seen last year that doesn't work money
Yeah.
to let him throw 10 passes a game. So, I mean, I think he throws 30 to 40 times a game. Thielen going to benefit from that anyway. So he's still a quality tier two.
We
So
have left in
I'll
this
take him.
tier Allen Robinson, Keenan Allen, and Juju Smith-Schuster. Who do you like the most out of those three?
Out of the
Yeah, that's what I
I
was
like
gonna
Allen
say.
Robinson. I like Allen Robinson. Even what makes him the best out of these three is he
He
has
has
quarterback
big quarterback
issues
issues.
for real. And he still gets 100 targets, 100 receptions. He clears 1,200 yards. He gets the touchdowns. He's force fit. I watched many of
Right.
games where he got 15 targets in one game. So I think I would take a flyer on him before I will on Juju. With Juju is really
Right.
based on Ben Roethlisberger and what you get from him. Ben coming back, it does help him.
Right.
But what Ben are we going to
And
see
that's the thing
is the
I was going
question.
to say, because my issue with all three of these guys is their quarterback play. But I think at least with
Mm-hmm.
Robinson, you can probably have consistent play because Trubisky is what he is. And if he
Yes,
falters, then Nick Foles gets it, and you can feel pretty comfortable with that. With Keenan Allen,
exactly.
I don't know how I feel about him without Phillip Rivers in that offense. That scares me.
Purpose.
We saw Smith Schuster was ineffective last year without Big Ben, and I don't like you said. You don't know if you're getting the healthy. I'm gonna throw for 5,000 yards, Big Ben. Then Smith Schuster jumps up to tier one for me. But yeah, that
Definitely.
uncertainty. But I will say, if
Yeah.
Roethlisberger is healthy, there's a lot to like about Pittsburgh's off. They have some potential dynamic
Yes.
wide receivers. We only talking about Juju tonight, but I read one place where they could have 3,000-yard receivers in Pittsburgh. I don't think I believe that, but they're gonna come close to it. I think they'll come
No, that's
close to
crazy.
it.
I mean, like you say, a
Yeah,
healthy Big Ben, he has to be. Big Ben got to stop taking risks. Like I mean, sometimes you got to throw the ball away, but he has to stay healthy. He's the key to all of their success because they ran with like 3 or 4 different quarterbacks last year, and that's why Juju
and he
didn't get
got
off,
right.
and he got hurt on
Another
top of that. So, I mean, I think if Big Ben is back, I think he can slide into a tier one. He just has to be healthy. Big Ben has to be healthy. I just love Allen Robinson. Allen
yeah.
Robinson, he's gonna get his regardless. He stays healthy, and even with quarterback play, he's still gonna get his numbers regardless. So at the end of the day, I think Allen Robinson is probably the better
Mm-hmm.
out of the three. That's what I would take my chances
Okay.
on, honestly. So
Well,
that's what I got
we
for you.
made it through our first two.
So,
So this is just part one of our tight end and wide receiver discussion. So special surprise, we're going to come back next week, not 2 weeks. We're going to come back next week and finish up our wide receiver talk. So if you're free, we hope you can join us back. I see the comments about a giveaway. We might try to do something like that. We've done some in the past when we're doing
yeah,
our pilot season, so we can bring some of that back. We'll think about it. Let us know in the comments
yeah.
any suggestions what you might want to see for a giveaway. Neither we're not giving out stimulus checks. You can go see your least favorite president if you want one of those, or your favorite, depending on your point of view. But I know your personal view on that one. So we'll see. But yeah, we try to do something for y'all.
Rodney, Rodney, we're not giving out Pat Mahomes jerseys either. So don't ask. I won't chip in for a Pat Mahomes jersey. I'm just sorry. Um, we will give away a RJ Fantasy Football shirt
Yeah,
though.
we get.
I mean, we have a ton of those we can give away.
Yeah, yeah,
So definitely so.
yeah.
But appreciate everybody really. We love y'all. Keep showing us,
Yeah.
that y'all support us,
All right.
and I appreciate it for real.
All right. Well, we'll
That's all,
see you guys.
folks.
Remember, a week from today, we'll be back we'll finish up the discussion on wide receivers. And Rodney, just so you can tune in, there is at least one more wide receiver I'm going to talk about. So you'll be happy to find out who that is. Hit like, hit subscribe, and thanks again for joining us. Y'all take care.